Locho sampo pa gyu tra shi pa tuche tempe tin le yar da pelge drolor zam te parche palde la me shabla solwade Omo a guru vajradara suma timu nishasane kar Uta vardanya shribar varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om a guru vajradara suma timu nishasane kar Uta vardanya shribar varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om a guru vajradara Timo nishasane kar Vardanya shri bara varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om guru vajrada Timo nishasane kar Varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om guru vajrada Uta vardanya shri bara varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om guru vajradara suma timu nishasane kar Uta vardanya shri bara varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Pakyuke kudan dagi lo, pakyuke sundan dagi nga, pakyuke tudan dagi yi, yerme chiktu jingi lo. Makyuke kudan dagi lo, makyuke sundan dagi nga, makyuke tudan dagi yi, yerme chiktu jingelo Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Munye Mahamuni Shakya Munye Swaha Om Muni Muni Mahamun Shakya Munye Swaha Sangye Chedan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chishe Gibe Sonamgi Rola Pinchre Sangye Druparish Sangye Chedan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Dagi Chinso Gibe Sonamgi Rola Pinchre Sangye Druparish Sangye Chedan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chinso Gibe Sonamgi Sangye Druparisho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Some of us, we may sometimes make a question. In the history of Buddhism, this question was put forward quite many times, actually. And the question is, once we have Buddha's teachings, we have all the sutras of Buddha, no? Which were the transcripts of all the teachings put together. In the time of Buddha, everything was oral. Nothing was written. So at his time also many disciples, they had incredible capacity of memorization. But what happened is that in the beginning it was all oral. So we knew the teaching and we would just share it with others, sharing it exactly in the same way. We had perfect memory. Then what happened in time, what happened in time is that slowly the versions start to become different. So we started to have this. We started to have two different versions. Okay, one person was telling that sutra in one way, the other one was telling it slightly different. So when they saw that there was starting to have differences, they gathered together and said, okay, let's put it right. Otherwise, as time will go by, it will get more and more different. No? So at the time, the disciples gathered together, and as every sutra started, one day, so I have heard. And they start saying, okay, I was in the mountain of Rajgira together with Buddha, and Buddha was together with Shariputra, or together with this disciple or that disciple, and this disciple made this question, and Buddha answered in that and that way, and like this, all the sutras starts. So if someone asks, is there any teaching that is not in the sutras of Buddha? Actually not. Everything that we may need on the path to enlightenment, it is inside Buddha's teachings. There is nothing missing. Then why do we need the teachings of Atisha, Lama Tsongkhapa, then as we go on with the lineage, let's say Paponka Rinpoche, Tricha Rinpoche, our gurus. Why do we need these teachings? Wouldn't it be enough just to have Buddha's teachings, no? The answer is yes and no. In a way, it would be enough in the sense that everything it is inside Buddha's teachings. There is nothing missing from it. But it's like a vast ocean and we don't know exactly where to go. The example that is given is that Buddha's teachings is like the sun. And the instructions given by the Guru is like the enlargement lens, that as we put on the sun, it can concentrate all the energy of the sun and make fire. Magnifying lens. So that we can actually put there and then it concentrates the energy of the sun to make fire. So without the magnifying lens of the teachings of the instructions of the Guru, actually we are not able to burn away, to use the strength of the sun, of the teaching, Buddha's teachings, to burn away our own defilements and ignorance. So this is why it's so important to have the direct instructions. And what happened is that in the centuries, the teachings they always followed a very simple principle, which is one of the main responsibilities of the teacher is to adapt the teachings to the mentality of his own disciples. That's one of the main responsibilities that a teacher must have. And it's very clear because if we take, for example, the Sutras of Buddha, let's take, for instance, one of the most well-known sutras, the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom, the Prajna Paramita. We have three main versions. There is a short version of 8,000 verses, there is a middle version of 20,000 verses, and then there is a long version of 100,000 verses. At least for me, and I believe for most of us that are here, when we read it, we understand almost nothing. We understand the words, but it's very difficult to put all together. Really very difficult. Because it was written 2,500 years ago, more or less. It was written by people that had an understanding that most of us don't have. So what happened is that many things are there, but for us to understand it, it's difficult. We need commentaries. For instance, then there is two main commentaries on the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom. One commentary on the actual direct meaning and one commentary on the indirect meaning. The commentary on the indirect meaning shows the gradual path to enlightenment. It was written by a Sangha taught by Buddha Maitreya. It's called The Ornament of Clear Realization, Abhisamaya Alankara. It's one of the main texts we study in the monasteries. And when we study this text, it's 7 years. The text itself is like 50 pages. But like just for the first 4 lines, which is the praise, which starts with Nyento Shiwa Tsunam Kunshe Nigi Nyershiti Kinda, 4 lines, it takes 1 year. And I say, why it takes so long? Why do we need so many commentaries? Actually, it's quite simple to understand. Let's take, for instance, if we need to explain the lines of taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. To understand this really well, you need to understand what is Buddha, what is the Dharma, what is Sangha. You need to understand what it means to take refuge. You need to understand what are the 6 perfections, what it means to practice them, what it means to accumulate merit, what it means to reach enlightenment, our own potential, our true Buddha nature, the benefit for others, Bodhichitta. It's so much inside these 4 lines, actually, no? So just to understand what is a Buddha, Chojung Osu Tutobe Namgen, we say in Tibetan, is the wisdom that realized the 10 phenomena simultaneously. What are the 10 phenomena? What it means to realize them. So you need to understand, okay, the Buddha is the one that have eliminated the 2 obscurations. What are the 2 obscurations? How can they be eliminated? Finally, in order to understand logically clearly what is a Buddha, we must first understand the correct view of reality. So finally, to understand just the first line in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, actually the first 2 words, in Buddha, you need first to go through the whole explanation of emptiness and so many other things, really to go in details. So what the great masters have done is make commentaries in order to help us, to guide us, to understand the actual meaning, not just to remain it in simple words that we recite. And at the same time, they also had very great quality of making synthesis of the teachings. In other words, for me, it's one of the greatest qualities that I see in many masters. It is the fact that something that for them took a long time to understand, they put in simple words so that we can get it easily. This is for me one of the most beautiful things that we can receive also. And the teachings that we are going to see these days, today, we are going to have an introduction to it. We're not going to see it throughoutly because there's no time for that. But it's called the 7-point mind training. And for me, it's one of the most important synthesis that is of Buddha's teachings. It's extremely profound, it's extremely practical, direct, and it adapts very well to our mentality. So it's something that it's really, really wonderful. So basically, when we talk about mind training, Lojong, what does it mean? It means, first of all, that we have the ability of changing our mind as we train it. Okay? But train our mind on what? Because just to train the mind is nothing special. I can train my mind to play piano, which is beautiful. But I can train my mind to find the faults on others. I can train my mind to kill. I can train my mind to steal. I can train my mind to so many different things. So just training the mind is not necessarily something good. It depends on what I train my mind. So in this case, it's training the mind in altruism. It's training our 7 points, 7 steps of practice to train our mind in being an altruistic mind and not a selfish mind. It's to train our mind to eliminate selfishness and to develop an altruistic deep feeling, deep attitude. So, these teachings actually, the 7 points, they are extremely simple. Some parts is a little bit more difficult. There are 1 or 2 points which are a little bit more difficult, but it's quite simple actually, the whole thing, and very powerful. One of the reasons which I think is so beautiful, these teachings, because when we really go through it, we will see there are no excuses not to practice. There is no such thing, oh, I am tired, you can practice. I am happy, you can practice. I'm sad, you can practice. I'm sick, you can practice. I'm in good health, you can practice. I am in vacation, you can practice. I am in my job, you can practice. There is no situation in which you can say, oh no, here I cannot. The conditions are not right. This doesn't exist. They are brought to us in a way that every situation is a wonderful opportunity to practice, to train our mind. So, it really makes these teachings very, very special for me. And there are the 7 points, which we'll go through an introduction of them, of how to train our mind to be altruistic and not to be selfish. Okay, these teachings were kept secret for a very, very long time. Atisha kept them secret. Atisha had many, many, many thousands of disciples, but he only taught these teachings, I think, to 5 or 6 disciples, something like this. And the main one was Dromtompa. Then they only taught to very few, and like this it went through. And what happened is that the reason why these teachings were kept secret for a very long time is that they are very, very simple. But they are very powerful in the moment that you put them into practice. So the only condition that was requested in order to be able to receive such teachings in the past was to have a total commitment to put them into practice and not just to listen. This was the condition necessary in order to receive these teachings before. Okay? So now today we will go through an introduction to the 7 points mind training. Okay? So today we will do an introduction to the 7 points mind training. And what happened is that it is actually one text which I received these teachings from my teacher in Tibet, Kachen Losam Punso Rinpoche, the abbot of Tashilumpu. And I received it based on the commentary which was written by Horton Nankapal, which was one of the disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa, according to Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings. When Lama Tsongkhapa commented this text for him, he wrote down, basically. And it is like, 200, 300 pages text. And then there is a commentary on that book again, written by Yonzi Eshe, which is around 700 pages more. And they are very complete because basically the whole path to enlightenment is inside here. Okay, I will put an effort today not to go into details, because every one of the 7 points, if we go in, we can stay hours and days on it. Okay, so we'll just do an introduction today so that we can focus and we can start understanding what is the 7-point mind training. Okay. So let's go through it. We read the first part of the text. As it says, Tukje chembola chaotselo menga duzi nimbo di selimbane gyumba yi dorji nima jomba jonshin shing shundon laso shebracha nima ngabo deba di janjo lamdu gyurba yin. Homage to great compassion. The essence of this nectar of secret instruction is transmitted from the master of Sumatra. It means these teachings which arrived from Geshe Chekawa, from Geshe Chekawa, which originally came from Geshe Potowa, and then I have the whole list of the transmission actually. But it went through Dromtompa and through Atisha. Atisha received these teachings for the first time from Lama Serlimpa, which was Guru Suvarnadipa from the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. So Atisha was from where today nowadays is Bangladesh, the north of India. He went up to Indonesia to receive these teachings. So he took 13 months by boat to get to Indonesia. He stayed there 12 years and then he came back to India and later he went to Tibet. So much effort was made behind in order to receive these teachings. No? We come, we make 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers to go from one place to the other. Wonderful, no? I don't want to compare me with anyone else, but Atisha, for example, to receive teachings about mind training, he did 13 months by boat. And he went up and he stayed 12 years there. No? So, and he went with 300 disciples together at the time. So, this is the lineages coming from Sumatra, from Lama Serlimpa. Revealing then the next part, actually this part is one subtitle, revealing the features of the doctrine to engender the respect for the instructions. The titles that we see inside, they were added by Pabongka Rinpoche. Okay? Because there were many different versions of this text in Tibet. During the centuries, this text was written in the 12th century. So there were many versions of the text that appear in Tibet, little bit different. So Pabongka Rinpoche, he took all the versions together, he studied all of them, he studied the commentaries of Lama Tsongkhapa and the later commentaries also, and he made one version of the root text which is coherent with all the commentaries and putting all together. So we are following this version. And he added in between some titles in order to help to understand the text. So like outlines of the text, you know. So the text itself starts here, which says, you should understand the significance of this instruction as like a diamond as the sun and the medicinal tree. This time of the 5 degenerations will then be transformed into the path of truly awakened state. it's said that these instructions, these teachings, is compared to these three objects, which means is compared to a diamond, the sun, and a medicinal tree. Let me just look for one thing here, 1 second. Okay, yeah. And then, in case of doubt, I have the commentary of Geshe Rinpoche on this text here, which I use as a reference. Okay. Anyhow, it says it's like a diamond because the diamond is said to be the most excellent of all jewels. And even one small piece of diamond is able to outcast, we can say, to overcome, outshine any other jewel. So it's like if you have many beautiful jewels, then you bring a diamond, it can be even very small. It is even more beautiful than all the others. In Tibetan we say siji, the word. It's a bit difficult to translate. Anyhow, it's the same way that even if a small part of this text put into practice, of these instructions put into practice, it can outshine selfishness. Selfishness becomes a little bit small on the side. It cannot come out strongly. It's like the sun. Because the sun, even when small rays of the sun, light rays of the sun, when coming into a dark room, can give light to the whole room. Similar to that, just a small part of these instructions put into practice can eliminate the darkness of ignorance, of our selfishness also. And it's similar to a medicine tree because as just in a medicine tree, one part of a leaf or a part of a root can actually cure a disease. Similar to that, just a part of these instructions put into practice can cure the disease of selfishness. And the text continues, it says, this time of the 5 degenerations will then be transformed into the path of the fully awakened state. This is one of the most important things of these teachings. These instructions use the degenerated aspects of our times as a tool for the practice. So we live in times of degeneration, which is called Kali Yuga normally. The generations that we have, there is the degeneration of the health, which is new sicknesses that arrive. I think there are 8 sicknesses of the degenerated time, if I am not wrong. 2 of them, from if what I remember, is very similar to AIDS and cancer, are very similar to 2 of these 8. So one time Lama was describing this some years ago. He was saying, yes, when in the description of the 8 sicknesses of the degenerative time, 2 of them we have already seen, we have still another 6 to come. Anyhow, we have time. Okay? So, this is just one point. Anyhow, the point is that we live in degenerative times, and so there are new sicknesses coming. There is the degeneration of health, there is the degeneration of food. The food has always less ability of nutrition. There is the degeneration of medicine. The medicine can cure less and less. Then there is the degeneration of time. Time has less and less value. And then there is the degeneration of the sentient beings, which means the mental defilements are stronger. Okay? If we look to the world as a whole, it's really like this. It's actually quite clear. Health looks like, okay, now we live longer, but with what quality of life? There is more food. What type of food? Medicine is available for everyone. What type of medicine? Time. Time is getting less and less and less. The same time of the watch has much less value. There is a whole theory that I believe on what is called the Schumann resonance. Anyhow, I'm not going to go into details right now, which shows that nowadays 1 day of 24 hours biologically is like 16 hours. And this started strongly since the 80s. Anyhow, what happened is that basically the time is less and the defilements are stronger. So if we put all of this together, we are really in times of degeneration. And someone may say, wow, In such a times, how can anyone practice? Like, okay, in the time of Lama Tsongkhapa, in the time of Buddha, in that conditions, yes, that will be easier to practice, but how can I do now? It's too difficult. Look at the life we make, look at the conditions we have. With these instructions, the more we live in the times of degeneration, the better are the conditions for the practice. Because these instructions use the degenerative aspects as a method for the practice. Which means, we are sick, it's very good for practicing. We are with people with strong mental defilements, that's very good for practice. We are in a condition where the food is not good, not from taste point of view, but there is no enough nutrition, or the time is not enough, and there is a lot of conflict, or whatever. That's a wonderful condition to practice. So, the worse the conditions are, the stronger the practice can become. So, this is something that just by itself, it's already very, very special. Because when we look nowadays, people say, okay, but I really wanted to pray, but when can I get the time and the space to sit down and meditate and have all the right instructions? It's like almost impossible sometimes. Instead, with the teachings of Lojong, they adapt exactly to the difficulties. The stronger is the difficulty, the better it is to practice. So we all have difficulties, so we have many wonderful conditions to practice. Okay, but how? This is why we have the 7 points, to help us, to guide us in order to transform as it says here, the time of the 5 degenerations will then be transformed into the path to the fully awakened state. The actual instructions for guiding the disciple is given in 7 points. Okay, so we have it divided into 7 steps in order to train the mind. Okay, so now we'll go through the 7 steps. Okay, we'll go through it as an introduction. I repeat again, I'm going really putting an effort not to go into details. Okay, now let's go through first the 7 points without entering in detail. We just read the 7 titles, and it says Tambong ngondro chugi temba Niba ngoshi janjugi sem jongwan Sumba kinge janjulam tu gyurwa Shiba tsechi nyam len drill ne temba Ngaba lojong et se temba Drugba lojong ki tamse temba Dumba lojong ki labja temba nis. First, we'll go through the 7 points. First, explain the preliminaries as a basis of the practice. The first point is the preliminaries as a basis for the practice. Second, the actual practice, training in the awakening mind. Third, transforming adverse circumstances into the path to enlightenment. Fourth, the integrated practice of a single life. It means how we can integrate our life, the practice in every moment of our life. Fifth, the measures of having trained the mind. The measures of having trained the mind means, how do I know when actually my mind has completed the training process? And how can I check if I am going in the right direction or not? Sixth, the commitments of mind training. In order for me to train my mind to develop altruistic mind and eliminate selfishness, I must keep these commitments. Seventh, the precepts of mind training, which are like advices. It's not a commitment, but it's good if we follow. Okay? So, the first one is first train in the preliminaries. Tambongondro talalab. First train in the preliminaries. The preliminaries here is not like recite 100,000 times the mantra Vajrasattva, do 100 times prayers of refuge, and so on. This is not the preliminaries here. Okay. The preliminaries is a state of mind, a state of consciousness that we need to develop first of all. In other words, the first step that we need to do before developing the mind of awakening, the mind of enlightenment, which is basically the mind of love and compassion for others, first step, making it very simple, we need to develop love towards ourselves. That's the first thing that we need. Okay. Without loving ourselves, we are not able to love others. And when we talk about love, it's not that simple, because to love means to wish for happiness. And I can love you, you can love me, but we may have a complete different idea what happiness is. And based on that, looks like we are not loving each other because we wish different things for each other. Making a very silly example, if for me happiness is to watch soccer game in the Sunday with a lot of cold beer, and I love you, what do I want for you? Soccer with cold beer. If for me happiness means to have a lot of money and I love you, what do I wish for you? That you may have a lot of money. If for me happiness means to live a life with no problem, what do I wish for you? A life without problems. But if for me happiness means to be in total harmony with oneself and others, independently of the conditions in which we are, in peace with ourselves, free from fear, from attachment, from anger, from ignorance, and so on, if this is what it means, it's the meaning of true happiness for me, and I love you, what do I wish for you? To be in inner peace. So, what I see as happiness is what I wish for you when I love you. And to wish one's own happiness means to love oneself. So, the first step, the preliminary, the preparation, is to have clarity of what is love for ourselves, what is happiness for ourselves, That's the first important step. Within this, in order to develop all of this, now not entering into all the details, but like what is inside the preliminaries? Recognizing the preciousness of this life, recognizing impermanence and the certainty of death, the law of karma, taking refuge, and generating renunciation. This is all in the preliminaries. Which means understanding, when we talk about renunciation, it means to renounce suffering and the causes of suffering. We need to fall in love with happiness. We need to fall in love with the idea what's called normally liberation from samsara. It's like, how wonderful would it be if I could just live without anger, without jealousy, without envy, in a state of pure harmony with everyone all the time. If I could simply be happy independently of where I am, with whom I am, what is happening around myself. Beautiful, no? Because what happens is that in the moment that we expect that happiness depends on external conditions, it's finished, in the sense that there is no hope, because there are always going to be problems. No? Why there are problems always? Because we have our mental defilements and we are all together. Like, what does it mean to make harmony in a group, like true deep harmony? It means to make harmony between the mental defilements of everyone that is there. My sensation when there is a group and we try to make everything perfect, it's like when we have this in the cartoons. You have the boat and the water is coming in, and they close one hole, and then the water starts coming from another, then you close that hole and the water starts coming from another. It's always like this. When you have people around, and then there is one person that is unhappy and is never okay, then you help, that person is fine, then there is the other one that was fine and now has a problem. Then that one is fine, then the other one. It's like that. Why? Because we are all full of mental defilements. There is anger, there is jealousy, there is pride, there is miserliness, there is ultimately ignorance, and we're all together. So that's how it is. And this makes me remember last time I was in Brazil, I was invited by a group of doctors. They were actually dentists. And to talk with this group, they are a study group, very nice people with good knowledge and spiritualized people and so on. And the guy organizing it was an old doctor, I think Japanese, and he was living in Brazil already for a very, very long time. But a question that he made for me was, look, we gather as friends here for more than 20 years. And all the time that we see each other, we are always talking about life. And then it comes, oh yes, I have this problem. Then we meet again after 5 years, and then we have another problem. And then there is always something, no?
said, is there any solution, Because finally there are always problems. How can we actually solve this? Is there any solution? And my answer, which is what I really believe, is that the solution is very simple. The solution is that there is no solution. In the moment, not that we accept, like we subdue ourselves, in the moment that we deeply understand that problems exist and will always exist until the moment that we have mental defilements. As long as we have mental defilements, what happens very simply is that they stop being real problems because we stop trying to make a perfect world around us. Because the perfect world will never exist. Okay? We are not in a Walt Disney fairy tale. Even Walt Disney fairy tales are not perfect, okay? But what happens is that actually, in the moment that we understand, okay, the true state of well-being is based on my inner peace and not based on external conditions, then the external conditions, they are not anymore problems, they are just small difficulties. And that we need to deal with them, that's part of life. But we don't try to, our objective in life stop being making the life perfect. Because very often in our life, our objective is to have a perfect life. We try to make perfect conditions around us. We want everything to be as we think they should be. And what happened with that is that we are always suffering because things are never perfect. Also because we are never satisfied and we are changing ideas and so on and so on. No? So, the first step, loving ourselves, it means making clear to ourselves what is happiness and wishing for that happiness as the most important thing in our lives. Someone may tell me, but isn't this selfish? Yes. But here there is a secret I like to share with you. Which is, are we selfish? Yes. Okay, as we said before, it's very simple to see if we are selfish or not. When we need to choose something, which is our references? I and my or everyone? I and my. When we need to judge for something, if it's good or bad, which is our reference? I and my or everyone? I and my. So we are selfish. Very simple. Are we able not to be selfish right away? No. So how can I do something without selfishness? It's not possible. It's like asking me that I am not able to do exercise. I don't do exercise, so my body is not well trained. To say, okay, in order to train for a marathon, you must first be able to run a whole marathon in a few hours. I'm sorry. I'm not able to run for a kilometer, forget a marathon. Okay? So what happened is that we need to start from the point where we are right now. So what Buddha did, which is really incredible, is so wise, is that Buddha uses, and the teachings, the instructions that came after follow it, uses our own defilements to eliminate our defilements. In this case, it uses our own selfishness for later eliminating selfishness. Because the point is very simple. Am I selfish? Yes. Wonderful. But let's be selfish in the right way at least, no? Do I really want my happiness? The I and the my. Am I really so much concerned about the I and the my? Yes. So let's be concerned in the right way. Let's see what is really happiness. Let's really go for it. And as we go for it, as the path will show us, really selfishly speaking, the best thing is to be altruistic. So finally, we use the strengths of selfishness itself for later eliminating selfishness. So, it's quite incredible when we see how Buddha guides us through it. It's really, really very special. So, the first step is to make clear for ourselves what is happiness and developing the strong determination, I can get it and I want it. Doesn't matter what happens, to fall in love with it, to have the strong determination for it. This is the first step. Okay? And inside of this, there is the law of karma, there is the preciousness of this life, there is many, many other aspects that comes together in order to sustain this mind, in order to generate this, okay? Which normally in the teachings of Lammering is what we call the first and the second scope, which is generating renunciation, or the determination for liberation. Okay? Now, this is the first step. As we can see, it's something that is, we can go into details for days and months, and it's not something so simple right away, but it's very objective and very simple. First, we need to love ourselves, to make clear what is happiness, and really put energy in that. From our heart. For me, sincerely, I truly believe that happiness depends on an inner state and not on external conditions. You know, I know many people that have enough money and enough material conditions for this life and for the next 10 lives, if they could take for the next 10 lives their own money. Even one time one person asked me about it. Very intelligent, actually. This guy, someone that's like extremely rich, made a great, great fortune in one lifetime with hard work and so on. And then he came to me and he asked me, look, is it true that you were recognized as the reincarnation of one master? And I said, yes. So how does it work? It's possible to recognize the reincarnation? I said, yes. Okay. So he said, what if I make a trust which is dedicated for my next life, and I find someone that will find my next life and give the money for my next life? And he will keep a percentage on that. The fact is that technically it could work. Practically, I would never trust. But the main point is that even if I get the money in my next life, because when we make this example, I think we like a little bit the idea, no? Oh, imagine how nice I can be reborn and already keep my money for the next life. Especially if I make a lot of money. No? Imagine you work hard your whole life, you make millions and billions, and then in the next life you can take it with you. Oh, it's interesting. Okay, there is a percentage to pay. Actually, as a business, it's not a bad idea, no? You find a reincarnation, you get a percentage plus the expenses. I think it's quite a good business, but still, I would never trust it. But the point is that even if we are reborn with a lot of money, will that ensure us that we will be happy? No. Even in this life. I know many people that have enough money for anything they may wish materially. Are they happy? Most of them not. As I know other people that have nothing and they're happy because of the inner state of balance and harmony and peace. That's the most important of all. So really, we need truly, deeply to wish to develop the determination and the certainty. I want to be happy, and happiness means the state of harmony, free from attachment, free from anger, free from jealousy, free from fear, with love, with compassion, with harmony, with generosity, with humbleness. That's what I want. So this is the first step of the 7. Okay. Let's go to the next point. The next step is called the actual practice, and the actual practice is training on the awakening mind, training in the mind of enlightenment. And the awakening mind here is divided into 2 types, which is called the ultimate awakening mind and the conventional awakening mind. Tundam Janchu Gisem and Kunzob Janchu Gisem. The ultimate awakening mind, making it very simple, which is called or ultimate or absolute, and then the next one is conventional or relative. Making it very simple, the ultimate awakening mind is the wisdom, and the conventional is love and compassion. Okay? So basically, the main practice is training ourselves in developing wisdom and developing love and compassion. This is the main part of our practice here. So to eliminate our selfishness and to develop true love and compassion, a very true altruistic state, what we need to develop is wisdom and love and compassion, which actually is the same thing. Love and compassion is two sides of the same thing. So, here, if we look to the text, it may look a mistake, but actually it's not. In the text we have A, how to train in the ultimate awakening mind, and B, how to train in the conventional awakening mind. But then when we go to see the actual text, it's inverted. There is first B and then A. The reason for that is that the original text of the 7-point mind training, the more old version of it, it has always had first the ultimate, then the conventional. First wisdom, then love and compassion. But Lama Tsongkhapa explained that for us beginners, it suits better for our mind to have first compassion and then wisdom. That's why here the order is inverted. Okay? So Papunka Rinpoche puts quite clear, he says, according to most of the older records, the training in the ultimate awakening mind is dealt with first. However, according to our own tradition, following the gentle protector Tsongkhapa, as contained in such works as the mind training like the rays of the sun, ornaments of Lobsang's thought, essential nectar, and Kjelsen's rude words, which are all commentaries on the 7 points mind training, the order is reversed for a special reason. The special reason is that for those that are less developed intellectually and have less capacity, needs to go first through compassion, then wisdom. For those that have a higher potential, you go first through wisdom, then through compassion. Okay? We could go into many details about this, but we will not. So let's go first to see the part of compassion. It says, training in the conventional awakening mind. Lelen tamje chikla da kun la katrin chewa gom tongle niwa pel marjang lembe koren rang net sam theni lung la kyom barcha yul sum tuk sum getsa sum jegi menga dordo pa tela dremba kulwe chir cholom kundu tsikki chang. Banish the one to blame for everything. Who is the one to blame for everything? Others. No. The one to blame for everything is our own selfishness, okay? This is the one truly to blame for everything, okay? So, banish the one, eliminate, put aside, send away the one that is we need to blame for everything. For everything means for all our suffering. Who is the one to blame for everything? For all our suffering? Selfishness. Meditate on the great kindness of all living beings, of all beings. When you say here meditate, it doesn't mean sit down and breathe in, breathe out and meditate. It means familiarize. Familiarize yourself with the kindness of all beings towards you. We are not alone. We cannot be alone. We receive much more than what we give. And if we just think very simply, if someone helps us today, and someone gave us the same help 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the level of gratitude that we must have is the same or is different? Or gratitude comes with expiry date. After 1 year, someone is helping us, then you can say, okay, after 1 year, don't need to be any more grateful. No. There's no expiry date for that, right? So if you help me today, and then someone else helped me 10 years ago, the level of gratitude is the same. And if someone helped me 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 20 lives ago, the level of gratitude should be the same. And it's not because I forgot what you did that I should have less gratitude towards you. So, when we go through this basis, we have received so much in many, many lives. In infinite lives that we have had, we have received from everyone so much. So we need to meditate on the kindness of everyone towards us, which it's incredible. So it's really opening our heart towards others and familiarizing ourselves with the gratitude that we need to have towards everyone. So the kindness of each and every one towards us, because we have had so many lives And there are as many lives as there are sentient beings. So actually all of you have been my mother, I have been your mother, I have been your father, you have been my father, we have been friends, enemies, put anything you want, We have gone through all of this. So sure, you have taken care of me, I have taken care of you. So naturally, we need to have this, if we really follow these logics that there is no expiry date for gratitude, we need to have gratitude for all. Okay? So, this is basically when we say here, meditate upon the kindness, meditate on the great kindness of all beings. Now, practice a combination of giving and taking. Giving joy, happiness, tongma. Taking, lempa, the suffering of others, tonglen, to take, to give, and to take. Okay? So we give our happiness, we give our merits, we give our health, we give everything we have positive to others, and we take upon ourselves the suffering of others. They are suffering, they are mental defilements, they are fears, which is part of the mental defilements. We take their negative karma, their sicknesses, we take all of this upon us. Giving and taking should be practiced alternately. First we take and then we give. We don't do the two at the same time. And you should begin by taking from yourself. This part here, Lempe Koren Rangnetsam, in the text in Tibetan, it can be translated into two ways. It can say we start by taking from ourselves, or we start by taking to ourselves. It can be translated in the two ways. If we translate, we start by, both of them are correct. Because when we say we start by taking from ourselves, it means when we start the meditation of taking and giving, actually the name is giving and taking, but we practice taking and giving anyhow. We start by taking our own suffering. We imagine ourselves in front of us. And we start by taking away our suffering and giving joy to ourselves. We do this first with ourselves. Then we start sharing and doing with others. When it says, if we say you should begin first by taking to yourself, it means we start first by taking the suffering of others towards ourselves, and then we start giving our joy to others. Okay? These two should be made to ride on the breath. When I inhale, I take the suffering. When I exhale, I give the joy. So they go together with the breath. There is one point here which is very important in this practice. Before taking and giving, first of all, we need to understand that we cannot practically, technically take the suffering of anyone upon ourselves. If this would be possible, the Buddhas should have already done with ours, no? Life would be much easier. They just take from us. They love us, they want, they have the wisdom to do it. But it's not possible. So no one can take away the karma or the suffering of anyone else. Okay? So, what's the point here? We are generating an opposite attitude towards selfishness. The attitude of selfishness is everything that is good, I want for myself. Everything that is bad, I want far away from myself. Here we are generating a direct opposite mode of apprehension, which means everything that is good, I want to give for others. Everything that is bad, I take upon myself. And this is a very strong method to develop true love and not selfish love. Because the love that most of us have is a selfish love. Why? We love those that are benefit for ourselves. What happens when our friend starts to do things that we don't like? Slowly can become an enemy. Who do I love? I love those that are nice towards me and to the I and the my. You know, if someone is harming the I and the my, do I still love him? Less. If not, completely not. So, this is the selfish love. When through the practice of Tonglen, it helps us to open our heart in a non-selfish way. Because in the moment that I take the suffering, I can take the suffering of anyone. Why should I take the suffering of one and not the other? So we start doing it towards everyone in the same way. And this, it's something that is actually very, very powerful if we really practice sincerely. It's a very powerful meditation, but there is one point which it's very important for us to remember. It's put very clear in the commentary that I have here of Trishan Rinpoche, for instance, is the following. When we do this meditation, which is personally one of the most powerful meditations I know, we must always do a first preparation, which is we visualize, we imagine at our heart a very black, dense mass, which is representing our selfishness. And within it, it absorbs into it all our fears, our anger, the sense of guilt, the sense of being a victim, all the sufferings of our mind and all the problems, and then all the sicknesses and the negative karma. Everything is absorbed into the black mass at our heart. What is this black mass? It's the black mass of selfishness. So we imagine, first of all, selfishness here in our heart as something quite dense, little sticky, I'd like to imagine it. Something like how do you say, tar, this thing that used to make the road, no? Tar. Like that you touch it and it gets sticky, and the more you try to take away, the more it sticks. And it's heavy and it's dense. So we imagine this black, dense mass at our heart. And then, as it's there, we wish it to get it away. But we have no way, normally. So what we do, as we take the suffering of others into ourselves, the more I take the suffering, the more I take the negative karma, the negativities of others towards myself, as I breathe in, it absorbs into my heart. And as it absorbs to my heart, two negative forces joins, and one eliminates the other, like in mathematics. Okay. So what happens is that negative with negative becomes positive. One is eliminating the other. So basically, I have one negative force, which is my selfishness at my heart, and another negative force, which is the suffering and negative karma and so on of others. When the other negativities come into myself, it eliminates my own selfishness. So the more negativities I take, the weaker and the lighter my own selfishness becomes at my heart. And as we go through the meditation, the more we give to others our joy, the more this light within ourselves becomes stronger. And as we go to the end of the meditation, we end the meditation imagining that all sentient beings are completely free from their suffering and our selfishness is completely eliminated. Okay? This is a very powerful meditation. It's very simple, but if we do it well, it's extremely powerful. Okay? The text continues as it says, concerning the three objects, friends, enemies, and indifferent people, neutral people, and neutral friends, enemies, and neutral, there are three poisons: attachment towards friends, aversion towards enemies, and indifference towards neutral. And there are three virtues, which is related to this. There is the non-attachment, the non-aversion, and the non-indifference. Concerning the three objects, three poisons, and three virtues, the instructions to be followed in short is to be mindful of the practice in general by taking these words to heart in all activities. Okay? There are many different words that we can recite to help us, from the Bodhisattva Charavatara, from the Guru Puja, from Sutras of Buddha, from Nagarjuna. There are many words. So we recite, we find verses that helps us to remember, to give and to take and to have love towards others. And we remember, we use the verses to bring our mind to the right direction. Just one thing, when we talk about the three objects become 9 objects, which are: those that are beneficial for myself are my friends. Those that are of benefit for my friends are my friends. Those that harm my enemy are my friends. Those that harm myself are my enemy. Those that harm my friends are my enemy. Those that benefit my enemy are my enemy. And this is not the enemy, this is daily life. Okay? Then, those that are not benefiting or harming myself and others and my friends or enemies are indifferent. Okay? So, one thing that we can do in order to change this attitude in our daily life, for example, there is a very, very simple attitude that can make a big, big difference. The natural attitude of selfishness when we suffer and when we feel happy is that when I feel joy, I feel pleasure, I am happy. What is the natural selfish attitude? My happiness. I want to keep it. When we feel happy, normally where is our mind focused? In the I. When we suffer, where is our mind focused? In the I don't want to suffer. Okay? That's the main priority of the whole universe, basically. So, what happens is that there is an attitude that we can have that to train in these moments, which is very simple. In the moment of suffering, let's say, start with the moment of joy. In the moment of joy, we are hungry, we eat something nice, we enjoy our food, we meet a friend, we go to a beautiful place, we have any pleasure, any moment of happiness and joy. Okay, we remember something beautiful, it doesn't matter. Any sensation of pleasure, of joy that we may experience. What we do at that moment, we open our heart and we dedicate. May everyone experience the same joy that I am experiencing right now. So we offer it to the gurus, we offer it to the holy beings, to all the Buddhas, and we dedicate for all sentient beings. So we do not keep it only for us. We say, may everyone experience the same joy that I am experiencing right now. May everyone experience the same pleasure, the same happiness that I am experiencing right now. So we are not feeling guilty for feeling pleasure and happy. We are dedicating, we are multiplying it. So the longer the pleasure, the longer the joy, the better it is, because the more we can dedicate for others. Then, in the other moment when we are suffering, because life is like this, up and down, in the moment that we are suffering, what we do, we open our heart once again. And we dedicate, may everyone be free from the suffering that I am experiencing. For instance, let's say I am having a headache. We dedicate, may, by eliminating my own headache, may I eliminate the headache of anyone else that may be suffering from something similar. May everyone be free from headache by eliminating my own headache. We are not asking, I want the headache of everyone to come into mind. We are saying, by eliminating my headache, may I eliminate the headache of everyone else. When we have a difficulty with a friend, when we feel unsatisfied, whatever suffering we are having, may, by eliminating our suffering, we eliminate the suffering of everyone else. So we open our heart towards others. Okay? And the beautiful thing about this also is that we open our heart in a way that we are training ourselves that when we take care of ourselves, we are also taking care of others. We are going outside of this duality that we live normally. Normally we live in a duality which is, when I do something for others, is a sacrifice. When I do something for myself, I feel guilty. We need to go away of this duality. So when I'm doing something for myself, I'm enjoying pleasure. I'm also doing for others. I dedicate for everyone. When I'm doing something for others, like I'm taking the suffering, I take upon myself, it's also taking away my own suffering. The two things go together. They don't need to be separated, but they have the same level of importance. In the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, 8th chapter, verse 78, more or less, around that, it's one of the most beautiful verses I've ever read, which it says, I don't remember the precise words, but it says something like, in the moment that all others around myself wish to be happy in the same way as I wish to be happy, what is there so special on myself that I only wish for my own happiness? In the moment that everyone around me wishes to be free from suffering the same way that I wish to be free from suffering, what is there so special about myself that I only want to take away my own suffering? What's the answer? Nothing. So, no, we open our heart towards others. And we do this when we are happy and when we suffer. And someone may say, oh, but it doesn't come spontaneously. Sure not, we are selfish. It's much better to be an artificial altruistic than a natural selfish. Ok? So that's the point. We train ourselves and then slowly we change. Okay? Quindi, concludendo quella parte di prima, quello che accade è, facendo questa attitudine di aprire il nostro cuore agli altri, quando ci sono momenti di difficoltà e momenti di gioia, gradualmente andiamo ad allenare noi stessi a una mente più altruistica e meno egoista. Qualcuno mi potrebbe dire, ma questa è un'attitudine artificiale. Sì, siamo egoisti. È chiaro che inizialmente è artificiale. Però è molto meglio essere un egoista, un altruista artificiale che un egoista naturale. Perché essendo un altruista artificiale, piano piano uno diventa un altruista naturale. Non viene così dal nulla. Per questo che viene chiamato allenare, addestrare. Ok? Bene, andiamo al prossimo punto. Prego.
Perché non sono accusati? Per i cattolici c'è il peccato originale.
Ok.
Cosa c'è?
Il punto è molto semplice. Adesso cercherò, la domanda è perché non siamo nati già imparati, no? Cercherò di fare breve. Ok? Qualcuno avrà già sentito dire la nostra natura è pura. Ok? Abbiamo tutti una natura pura. Abbiamo tutti la natura di Buddha. C'è qualcuno che ogni tanto dice noi siamo un Buddha però non lo sappiamo. Se così fosse saremmo un Buddha un po' ignorante, però la nostra natura è pura. Che cosa vuol dire questo? E qua c'è un problema sostanziale. Se per natura pura intendiamo che una natura che siamo completamente liberi da tutti i veleni mentali, la domanda è come mai mi sono inguaiato così? Perché se la mia natura è pura, domanda, questo vuol dire che un giorno sono stato puro ed è successo qualcosa e sono diventato impuro? Impuro vuol dire ignorante, no? Perché se così è, qual è il punto di mettere un grande sforzo per eliminare la ignoranza per un altro giorno ricadere un'altra volta? Perché se una volta ero puro vuol dire che e sono diventato impuro vuol dire che non ero puro veramente. Se questo non dipende da me, un'altra fregatura ancora più grande, perché questo vuol dire che anche uscire non dipende da me. Ok? La risposta non è come mai non sono più puro. Questa non è la domanda. La domanda è: sono mai stato libero dall'ignoranza? Risposta: no. Ok? Da quando esistiamo, e chissà di quando è, si dice da tempi senza inizi, siamo ignoranti. Però, dov'è la nostra natura pura? È nel fatto che siamo interdipendenti. È nel fatto che la nostra mente, il nostro essere è costantemente ad interagire con tutto il resto intorno. Se io diminuisco un po' la rabbia, riesco a diminuirla ancora di più. Se metto la mente nella direzione giusta, segue o non segue? Sì. La nostra natura pura, qual è la natura ultima della mente di un Buddha? È che è interdipendente. Qual è la nostra natura? È che è interdipendente. Siamo fatti della stessa materia prima. Dipende dalla forma che andiamo a dare. Quello che accade che cos'è? È possibile uscire dalla sofferenza, è possibile eliminare la ignoranza. Perché? Perché siamo interdipendenti. Una saggezza in più, un po' più di amore, piano piano si va a creare un'interdipendenza positiva che la mente entra in quello. Qual è l'unica differenza che c'è tra un Buddha e noi? Che un Buddha vive costantemente in un'interdipendenza positiva e noi viviamo prevalentemente in interdipendenze neutre e negative. Questa è la differenza. Per un Buddha deve seguire esattamente le stesse leggi e regole che seguiamo noi, per modo di dire. Non è che è un essere completamente fuori da questo mondo e non c'entra niente con noi, no. Quando si parla del Buddha, siamo noi in un modo diverso. Perciò, che cosa vuol dire questo? La nostra natura non è che eravamo puri e poi è successo qualcosa che è andato male. Che se così fossi veramente ci sarebbe da preoccupare molto. Quando si parla la nostra natura è pura, vuol dire che noi non siamo intrinsecamente ignoranti. Vuol dire che non siamo in modo interdipendente ignoranti. Se noi andiamo a creare un'interdipendenza diversa, tramite i pensieri, le azioni, i sentimenti, eccetera, piano piano cambiano. La ignoranza diminuisce, l'amore aumenta. Questo è possibile ed è per questo che è possibile uscire dalla sofferenza. La nostra vera natura pura qual è? L'interdipendenza della nostra propria mente. Il fatto che siamo interdipendenti. In altre parole un po' più complesse, il fatto che siamo vuoti di esistenza intrinseca. Non esistiamo così come siamo in un modo indipendente da tutto il resto. Esistiamo così come siamo in un modo interdipendente. Ed è proprio perché siamo interdipendenti che se noi andiamo ad agire nella giusta direzione, piano piano creiamo un'interdipendenza positiva e possiamo sviluppare più amore. Qual è il limite dell'amore? L'amore senza limiti. Qual è il limite per eliminare la rabbia? Che non ci sia più. E così si va avanti. No? Come diceva lo stesso Geshe Chekawa che ha scritto questo testo. Lui in un altro testo dice: la mente è piena di difetti, però ha una grande qualità. Ciò che tu insegni segue. Perciò se diamo la giusta direzione, la mente segue. Ok? Perciò non è che dobbiamo incolpare qualcuno perché abbiamo la ignoranza e non siamo... Non è che non è la colpa di nessuno, è sempre stato così. Invece è il fatto che noi è possibile cambiare. In altre parole, la ignoranza, eccetera, è la normalità. Però è possibile uscirne da questo. Per fortuna. Ok? Questo è un punto in realtà molto importante e spesso non compreso bene. Si dice, noi in tibetano si chiama Sanghi Gerik, vuol dire la natura pura, la natura buddhica che noi abbiamo. Ma la natura buddhica abbiamo un problema sostanziale, fondamentale qui. Adesso faccio un parentesi veloce. Quando noi andiamo ad ascoltare qualcosa, leggere, ascoltare, ricevere un'informazione, noi inevitabilmente andiamo ad ascoltarla con il nostro proprio background, con le risorse che noi abbiamo. E noi che siamo qui veniamo da un'educazione e da una visione di mondo basata su una visione monoteista. Quindi la gran maggioranza di noi, quando andiamo ad ascoltare gli insegnamenti buddisti, lo facciamo con il filtro della nostra cultura, delle nostre educazioni e della nostra visione di mondo. E ci sono tante cose che in realtà noi percepiamo in un modo un po' sbagliato, mettiamolo così. Ok? Che noi inevitabilmente andiamo ad ascoltare e a vedere con il filtro della visione di mondo che abbiamo, che è una visione di mondo che è profondamente influenzata dalle religioni monoteistiche, dalla visione materialista, così per dire scientifica, e dalla visione capitalista. Queste sono le tre visioni principalmente che formano la nostra visione di mondo. Però la parte della monoteistica ha una grossa influenza sulla nostra visione di mondo. Non sto qua a dire se è giusto o sbagliato. Quello che succede è che la nostra visione di mondo è influenzata dal luogo dove cresciamo, la cultura che riceviamo e tutto il resto. Solo che il buddismo è stato insegnato originalmente in un contesto con una visione di mondo molto diversa. Perciò ci vuole tempo per capire. Io vi dico, ci sono degli aspetti, per esempio riguardo le 4 nobili verità, che è la base, che sono riuscito a capire 20 anni dopo. Ed è la cosa più bella, perché il processo naturale è che più uno approfondisce, poi torna alle radici, alle cose più basiche, e riesce a vederli con altri occhi. E sembra che a un certo punto c'è una chiarezza che prima non c'era, una cosa bellissima, no? Adesso non entro in dettagli, però il fatto è che dobbiamo stare attenti, perché quando noi parliamo, quando si dice la nostra natura buddhica, il modo come noi andiamo ad ascoltare questo di solito è profondamente influenzato dalla visione di mondo che noi abbiamo. Okay? Però in realtà il concetto originale che Buddha ha trasmesso è diverso. Ok? Chiaro questo? Ok. So the question was, why are we born, how to say, why we are not born all knowing one, no? Already knowing everything? Why are we ignorant? And as the question was, like in other traditions, they say that we have the original sin or something like this that makes us to suffer and so on. What's the vision that we have in Buddhism? I'm going to try to make it really short and simple. Okay? Many of you may have heard when we say our nature is pure. We all have a pure nature. We have Buddha nature. And in some cases, some people even say we are all Buddhas but we don't know. In that case, we would be quite ignorant Buddhas, no? Because being a Buddha and not knowing. But the point is that we have a pure nature. Different ways of saying it. What does that mean? Does it mean that we were completely pure and then for whatever strange reason we became impure? Because if I was completely pure, then I did some mistake and I became impure. First of all, it means that my pure is not real pure. Because there was ignorance. Because if there was no ignorance, why should I become impure? No? Why should I do a mistake? If this is the case, then there is no point of becoming a Buddha if you can come down again. So, first point. Second is like, if I became impure because someone else did something to me, then I'm really in trouble, because that means I can only become pure depending on someone else again. Okay, so these two are not the case. So the point, going directly to the essence, is that since when have we been ignorant? Since always. When we say that we have a pure nature, it doesn't mean that one day we were completely pure without any ignorance. We have ignorance, we have always had ignorance since the beginning of time. Or better, since the beginningless time. Okay? Then someone may ask me, but that means that it has no any possibility. If I have always been ignorant, then what is there any possibility for me to become fully awakened and eliminate ignorance completely? Is there any possibility for that? Actually, yes. Why? Because our nature is pure. What do we intend by pure nature? It means that we are interdependent. We are not inherently existing as ignorant. We are ignorant in an interdependent way. It's like the main difference between us and a Buddha is that a Buddha lives constantly in a positive interdependence, and we live most of the time in a negative, neutral interdependence. That's the main difference. So, when we talk about the Buddha nature, what is the Buddha nature that we have? It's the fact that our mind is interdependent. In other words, the lack of inherent existence of our mind. It's the emptiness of the mind. What is the ultimate nature of the mind of the Buddha? It is interdependent. It lacks inherent existence. The same is for each and every one of us. So, the point is that, yes, I am ignorant. I've always been ignorant. But because I am interdependent, I can change that state. It's like Geshe Chekawa, that wrote the 7-point mind training, he also said in another text, the mind is full of defects, but it has one great quality. What you teach, it follows. So, if we train our mind, if we generate a positive interdependence, then it will follow it. one small ignorance less at a time, a little bit more wisdom, a little bit more love, a little bit more compassion, and slowly we create more and more positive interdependence, and then gradually we can change completely. But the difficulty that we have very often, and here I'm going to be brief, but it's quite a long subject. Inevitably, whenever we listen to something, whenever we read, whenever we receive any information, we receive this information through our own experience and through our own worldview. Okay? Our own worldview, how we see reality, is deeply influenced by our culture. Is deep, for example, our worldview in the West, well, for most of us here, is deeply influenced by the monotheistic religions. Is influenced by the so-called scientific materialistic view, for instance. So what happens is that whenever we listen to the teachings of Buddha, we are in a different context than where the teachings were given originally. And we listen with the ears of someone that received a monotheistic education. And that have a worldview that is based on that education. So there are many things that we listen not exactly to what was taught. So it takes time. For example, when you talk about the Four Noble Truths, it's something that for me was so beautiful. After maybe 20 years, I went back and suddenly I understood something. Oh, and when we understand, it's so clear, no? But until we don't understand, it's so dark. But suddenly we see, wow, so deep, so powerful. So one of the beautiful things of the practice also, we need to go back and again back to the fundamental aspects of the teachings. And we will see that we can understand them differently. And we see how much we are influenced. So when we talk about our own pure nature, we are very much influenced by the culture and our education. But the way what it means in Buddhism is a bit different than the way how we are normally used to see. In our culture, when we say our nature is pure, we have the idea that we are completely pure somewhere. That's not the point. Our nature is pure means we are interdependent. It means we are not inherently existing as an ignorant being. But luckily, since when have we been ignorant? Since always. Why is luck for that? It means once we eliminate it, it can be once and for all. I don't know if it's clear, this point. No, the point is the following. When we say that we have been ignorant since always, it's very simple. It's because ignorance is, how to put in a simple way, is a way of apprehending, is a way of relating to reality. Okay? In the moment that we deeply go beyond it, you don't come back. So if we are like this, it means we have always been like this. Okay? Anyhow, this is one point which is important and is not so simple. We need to reflect upon it again and again. Okay? But the important thing just to understand is that, for me at least, in the moment that I understand I have always been ignorant, is a relief. It's not heavy. It's the other way around. Why? Because, truly speaking, if the idea was one day I was pure, then I am really in trouble. What's the point of putting all this effort in Dharma? Why? For another day to become impure again when someone decide or when I do some mistake that I don't know? Instead, it is possible to be less ignorant. It is possible to be more wise. It's possible to have more love and compassion and to change ourselves because we are truly interdependent. We lack inherent existence. That's the true nature of ourselves. And this is, for me, extremely beautiful, actually. Okay. No, we put in the heart all the mental defilements, the result of the mental defilements, all the negativities. Sense of guilt is connected with suffering, as something that is not positive for ourselves. That's why it's in the heart. Basically, it's for that reason.
And you can say if you go down, you can trace it to the environment.
Sure. It's directly connected. It's connected to ignorance. It's actually connected to selfishness, most of all. But now we go back to here. Otherwise, it's like, okay. So, last point for now. Then we really stop for lunch. Very briefly. Tempa tomne sawa ten chona milam tabur sam make rikpe shila che nyembo nika rasa dro lamki ngowo kunshi ngala sha tunzam gyume kibur cha. I'm going to explain this in a simple, short way, even though it's one of the subjects that is more deep and complex and long to explain, and one of the ones that I like the most also, which is the training in the ultimate awakening mind. When stability has been attained, in part in the secret teachings. Stability means once we have developed love towards ourselves, once we have done the preliminaries, then we should impart in the secret teachings, which are: consider all phenomena as like dreams. Examine the nature of unborn awareness. The remedy itself is released in its own place. Place the essence of the path on the nature of basis of all, of the basis of all. In the period between sessions, be a creator of illusions. So, consider all phenomena as like dreams. First of all, there is a big difference in saying consider all phenomena dreams and to say consider all phenomena as like dreams. When we say as like, it means the phenomena are not dreams, but they have an aspect which is similar to dreams. Okay? There's a difference between saying consider all reality an illusion and saying consider all reality as an illusion. There's a big difference. When we say as, it means similar. There is an illusory aspect in reality, but reality is not an illusion. Okay? So, what is this aspect that is like this illusory aspect of reality? I'm going to really simplify it a lot. When we simplify it a lot, it's good in a way, but we take away some subtleness, which is important, okay? Anyhow, now I'm going to simplify a lot. The reality in which we live, okay, is it objective or is it subjective? It is actually subjective. For instance, we listen to the sound. Do we perceive it in the exact same way, every one of us? No. The sound waves are different that reaches us. We are in different positions. Our ear is different. Our ear consciousness is different. The value that we attribute to the sound is different. So it's a different experience. So the sound, it actually exists for us in a subjective way, not in an objective way. Okay? Like this is for everything. The only objective truth is that all phenomena are subjective. Okay? The only objective truth is that nothing exists objectively. So, when we see reality around us, when we listen to the sound, when we do anything, how does the sound actually appear to us? Without philosophy mind, without analyzing it. Does it appear to us as being objective or it appears to us as being subjective? Objective. This is our ignorance. Even though the reality is subjective, it appears to us and we believe that it is objective. It appears as being objective and we believe in it. That's our ignorance. Okay? So, reality appears to us as if it existed completely independently of the observer, independently of its parts, independently of causes and conditions. That's what we call inherently existent. So that's how reality appears to us. But actually, when we analyze it, it is not like that. So, when we take the example of the dream, when we are dreaming, let's make an example direct. let's say we dream that someone that we love dies. Do we suffer during our dream? We worry. Yes. Then we wake up. Is the person dead? Hopefully not. But not. Okay. There can be a coincidence, but normally that's not the case. But it's not because, so the person has not died. I have dreamed that the person have died. So the death of the person in the dream, did it exist in the dream? Yes. Did the person actually die? No. Okay. So the reality of the dream in the dream, it exists as a reality of the dream, but it doesn't exist as an actual external reality. But when we are dreaming, we don't know how to divide the two. Okay? Similar to that, when we perceive reality around us, it appears to us as being of inherent existence, but we do not know it. It appears to us as appearing of, it appears to us as being of inherent existence and we believe in it. It appears to us as being objective and we believe in it. We grasp at it, and out of that we have selfishness and we have reactions and so on. So, during a dream, what happens if I am dreaming that someone I love dies, but I become fully aware that it's actually a dream? I don't suffer out of it. I may even be happy because I know, for example, that dreaming that someone dies, it means long life. Oh, so look, nice. I am aware that it's a dream. It still appears to me, but I know it's just a dream. That's what happens when we realize interdependence. And phenomenon still appears to us as being of inherent existence, as existing objectively, but I know it's not like that. So, view all phenomena, consider all phenomena as like dreams. They appear to us as being of objective, inherent existence, but actually they are not. Examine the nature of unborn awareness. Meditate on the lack of inherent existence of the mind itself. Also the mind lacks inherent existence. The remedy itself is released in its own place. The lack of inherent existence also lacks inherent existence, the emptiness of the emptiness. Place the essence of the path on the nature of the basis of all. Place the essence of the path in interdependence, in the lack of inherent existence. That's the basis of our path, developing wisdom. In the period between sessions, be a creator of illusions. Here the example is, when we have an illusion, I don't know if you've ever seen a good illusionist. It's actually quite amazing. I saw one time in India, remember. We were in this, like it was a small village circus, and there was this tent, all broken, and this guy was making illusion. And it was incredible the things he was doing. One point he got a little boy on his arms and he snapped his finger. No, he passed the hand in the face of the boy and then he like fainted. And then he took the boy up and then he did like this with his hands and the boy was perfectly straight, like if he was lying on a piece of wood in the middle of the air. Then he took his hands out and the boy was there. Then he took the frame of a bicycle, like this of the wheel of a bicycle, and he started going around, up and down. Well, like 2 meters in front of me, no black things behind, nothing. And then he just took the boy again, he snapped his fingers and the boy fell down. Then he put a hand again in the face and the boy woke up a little bit dizzy. I was looking at it and I don't know exactly what it was, but when we have a good illusionist, he's able to do really amazing things. And it's a very old tradition of India to do illusions. And it's said that to make an illusion, you need the power of mantra, which is the power of the mind, and the power of a substance. So what happened is that there are 3 people participating. We have the one that is the observing the illusion, but he doesn't know that it's an illusion, so you get fear, you get reaction. There is the actual illusionist that is making the illusion, but he's also under the influence of the substance and the mantra. So he also sees the illusion. And then there is the latecomer, the guy that arrived late, and he's not under the influence of the mantra and the substance, so he doesn't see the illusion. Similar to that, we have the one that is dreaming, not knowing that he's dreaming. We have the one that is dreaming, knowing that he's dreaming, and we have the one that is awake. Okay, what is the relation of that? There is the one that reality appears as being of inherent existence and he believes in it. That's the one that sees the illusion and don't know that it is an illusion. The one that is dreaming and doesn't know that it is a dream. Then we have the one that sees reality as being of inherent existence but know that that's not true, but know that everything is interdependent. Phenomena appear as being objective, but I know that actually they are subjective. That's like the one that is making the illusion. That's like the one that is dreaming but know that he's dreaming. Then there is the one that phenomena do not even appear anymore as being of inherent existence. Phenomena do not appear anymore as being of objective reality. That's a Buddha. That's the awakened one. That's the one that is not dreaming anymore. That's the one that is outside of the influence of the illusion. So between the meditation sessions, be like a dreamer that knows that you are dreaming. Be like a creator of illusions. Remember that everything that appears to your eyes, to your ear, to your touch, to your perception, exists as it appears as a result of your own self. Nothing exists for you independently of yourself. This doesn't mean that external reality doesn't exist. Yes, it exists. But external reality does not exist independently of internal reality. And in other words, this is wisdom. Wisdom means to live reality in a coherent way. Reality is interdependent. So to experience reality in an interdependent way means to experience reality in a coherent way. Making a very simple example. The reality around us, the phenomenon around us, are permanent or impermanent? Are impermanent, are constantly transforming. But when we look at things, how do they align? When we look at the singing bowl, how does it appear to us? As being permanent or as it being impermanent? Permanent. It appears to us as being the same. Has it changed since I was talking? No, it's here the same. So it appears to us as being permanent when actually it is not. That's ignorance. In the moment that I'm able to perceive it as impermanent as it is, I'm perceiving it in a coherent way with its nature. That's wisdom. Okay, so in our path we need to develop wisdom, which is to relate to reality in a coherent way, and love and compassion. That's the two wings that we need to go to enlightenment, and the two trainings that we need to do. Okay, now we stop for lunch, and then we come back at 3:30. Okay. Jetson lame kotse raptenchi namkar tinle cholchur gepadam losan tempe drome sasumgi drove munse tatu negurchi nimo dele tsendele kuyan delekshi ninsen taktu delekpe koncho sumge jingelo koncho sumge ngodruts koncho sumge trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their may they help us to achieve all realization and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspicious